right, everybody, get your engines fired up. It's time for Lights Out, Let's Chat.
Why Monaco is the most unique race in F1 and why it changes everything. Well, as you can hear, I am not your usual host into the world of speed, wheel-to-wheel battle, and team robberies. No, this is Mr. F1 himself, Michael, and I am welcoming you to the Monaco race weekend preview. Dun, dun, dun. So sit back, relax, and let the motor vibrations chill you to the bone. Okay, quick question. What if I told you there's a Formula One race where overtaking is almost impossible, one mistake ends your race instantly, and qualifying matters more than the race itself? That race is Monaco. We're heading to the most iconic, most glamorous, and honestly, one of the most controversial races in Formula One, because some fans love it and others think it shouldn't even be on the calendar. So today, we're breaking it all down. What makes Monaco so different, why it's so hard to drive, who it favors, and what to watch for this weekend. And if you're new to F1, perfect, because this race that makes the least sense until you understand it. What is Monaco? Let's start simple. What even is the Monaco Grand Prix? It's basically a race through the city streets of Monaco. It is not a permanent racetrack, and the city literally closes down to allow the F1 cars to drive through the principality itself. What? Why? That's crazy, because unlike normal tracks, there's no runoff, no white corners, and no room for mistakes. Instead, walls everywhere. Why people love it? Monaco is famous for the tight streets, the yachts, the luxury, the history, the dreaded tunnel, and the pool that the drivers do their famous belly flops. The race has been around forever and is considered one of the most prestigious races in the world. Basically, it's part race, part movie set, part billionaire networking event. Why Monaco is so hard. Now let's talk about what really matters, driving this track. Super narrow, Monaco is extremely tight and extremely technical. The drivers are millimeters from the wall at extremely high speeds. Not as high speed as normal races, but in a street track as tight as Monaco, it is dangerous. And this means even if you make the tiniest mistake, there is a wall waiting to jump out and take you out of the race for good. And as I said before, Monaco is definitely not the fastest track. It is not about speed. It is about precision, control, and driver's confidence. It is a track that will test them to the limits. The drivers need the following skills to finish this track and to be a victor. Perfect steering, perfect training, perfect braking, and absolute total focus. To put a visual aspect on it, Monaco is like walking a tightrope over the Grand Canyon. One wrong move and bye-bye, see you next fall at 150 miles per hour. Why qualifying matters more than the race. This is the most important part of Monaco. Qualifying. Qualifying determines where the drivers start the race. This is huge because overtaking is so hard. Starting at the front gives the drivers a massive advantage, where starting at the back, it's almost impossible to pass. Even if you're a faster car, you are just limited with the room that you can overtake. And qualifying also determines the best drivers and the best cars, because in qualifying, drivers must push to the limits, take the risk, and get perfect laps. But on the flip side of that coin, there's risk. Pushing too hard means higher chances of crashing, which ends the entire weekend before it even starts. It is important for every driver to get as many laps, to get their braking zones, their turning angles, their acceleration, everything. The more they drive, the more they practice, the more they know the track. The concept of a driver losing out in any of the practices, any of the qualifying, will hurt the race and the extent of the entire weekend. And this brings us to our next point, why the fans love qualifying. Monaco qualifying is one of the most intense sessions in F1 because every lap feels like it could be the end, a crash, or the pole position. Formula One in Monaco is literally basic controlled chaos. What to watch for this weekend? Alright, let's break it down and get into this weekend. Number 1, the qualifying battles. Who can deliver the perfect lap and who can handle the pressure? This decides everything. Monaco is the track that fights back against the drivers just as hard as the drivers fight each other. Number 2, driver skills. Monaco has a tendency to show each driver's strengths and weaknesses and lays it out on a platter for the whole world F1 to see. Drivers will need the following: precision, confidence, focus, nerves of steel, and intensity unlike any other track. in the F1 calendar. Key ideas. This is one of the few tracks where driver skills matter more than the car. The fact that Monaco is not a high-speed track and maximum downforce is a necessity for the most grip possible. Key ideas. This is one of the few tracks where driver skills matter more than the car. The fact that Monaco is not a high-speed track and maximum downforce is a necessity, allowing for the most grip as possible. And this will also affect tire wear, the brakes, and the durability of these new 2026 cars. We have already seen catastrophic failures already, and with Monaco, we might get to see more destruction due to the track rather than drivers' mistakes. Our next biggest talking point is number 3, which is strategies. Even though overtaking is hard, pit stops matter. Undercutting versus overcutting. Monaco is generally an overcutting track, which means the lead cars pit first and then allow themselves with fresher tires to try to catch up and gain their position back, where other tracks tend to lead to the concept of undercutting, where the tail cars pit first and then make up room on the track. So, as I said before, Monaco generally leans towards the overcut. Timing is everything. When do you pit? When do you not pit? Do you stay out and risk the gamble on older tires for position, or do you take the gamble, pit for newer tires, and hopefully make up space? The concept of a safety car. The safety cars in Monaco can change everything, including where you pit, if you stay out for lead position. Everything is determined if a safety car is deployed. Number 4, mistakes. The race is about survival. The attrition of the track, the race, their other racers is everything. This track is extremely tough to race. What to expect? Crashes, safety cars, unexpected results. Because Monaco does not reward perfection, it punishes mistakes. Who does Monaco favor? So, who actually benefits from this track? The favorite drivers. Drivers who are smooth, precise, and confident. I'll get into the numbers after a little while, but I do believe this track tends to lead more towards the more seasoned drivers, the Max Verstappens, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, who might be a surprise in this race. This track does not always allow for the fastest driver to win. Sometimes if you have a calm, cool, collected, patient race, you might take the pedestal. And why do I say that? Because Monaco rewards controlled over aggression. The underdog potential. This is one race where a surprise can happen. Looking at the numbers over the last 2.5 decades, Mercedes has taken 5 victories, McLaren has taken 5, Red Bull has taken 7, Ferrari has taken 3, and other teams that are no longer in F1 have taken 3. My thoughts. Ferrari, especially Lewis Hamilton, has 2 out of the 5 Mercedes wins and a fire in his belly that is the best I've seen since he joined the Ferrari team, and his first podium as a Ferrari driver in 2026. And of course, Max Verstappen, who has 2 wins previously at Monaco with the Red Bull team, with a car that might be suited more for this track, minus the issues they've had with tires this year heating up. McLaren might be looking for amends after their failed Canadian race, especially due to the team not listening to the drivers about intermediate tires and looking for a season turnaround. Mercedes is always a contender, but I am not sure this track is designed for the 2026 Mercedes and might allow for another team to take the top steps. Question of the week. Topic: has Formula One made Monaco less exciting, or is it still one of the most important races of the year? All right, let's get into the question of the week. And this is a big one. Has modern Formula One made Monaco less exciting, or is it still one of the most important races in the entire year? Because if you watched Monaco before, you've probably heard 2 very different opinions. Some people say it's boring now, no overtakes, just a train of cars. And the others say it's Monaco, it's legendary, it still matters more than any other race. So today, we are breaking this all down. What makes Monaco so special? Why modern F1 cars struggle there? Why people are saying it's less exciting? And why it might still be one of the hardest and most important races on the calendar. And if you're new to F1, don't worry. We are explaining everything. Why Monaco is so special. Let's start here. Because before we start to criticize Monaco, we need to understand why it matters so much. Monaco is not just another race. It is one of the most iconic events in all of motorsports. Most F1 tracks are built for racing. Wide corners, big runoff areas, and designed for overtaking. Monaco? It is literally a city. City streets, city corners, a tunnel, and the most important part, the barriers. There is no forgiveness. One wrong twitch, one wrong turn, one wrong acceleration point, you're in the barriers, and that is it. No room for errors whatsoever. And let's be honest, that's what makes Monaco so special. The idea is if on a normal track, if you make a mistake, you have plenty of runoff, you can turn around, you can do a 180. But Monaco, if you make a mistake, your race is over. It's done. Bye. See you later. Maybe next year. Do you remember walking through your hallways in school, college, high school, trying to get your books out of your locker? Imagine Monaco is basically that. You're literally trying to drive an F1 car through a hallway. What made Monaco exciting before? Now here's where things got interesting. Because Monaco used to be insanely exciting. Why? Similar cars, less predictable strategies, more driver mistakes. Back then, drivers were constantly sliding the car, fighting grip, making aggressive moves, and because the cars were so much smaller, there were actually more opportunities to overtake. The key takeaway for this whole concept is Monaco has always been about driver skills over pure speed. The drivers could push closer to the wall, take more risk, find time where others couldn't. And unfortunately, that is where the modern F1 has changed Monaco. Now let's talk about the problem. Modern Formula One cars, even though we have smaller cars this year, they're still bigger, wider, heavier than the cars of old. And unfortunately, the track stayed the same. Where the cars got bigger, they got less competitive in a track that is made for street cars in the middle of a city, which means that there's barely any space for overtaking. Drivers can't take the same risk. Race has become more about the track position and less about the racing. And unfortunately, this means the better you qualify, the better you'll finish, which is not real Formula One racing. A Formula One driver should be able to push the car, beat all odds, and go from the pit wall to first position if they're that good. But unfortunately, in a track like Monaco, there's just not the opportunity for that. It's basically like, hey, congrats on qualifying. You qualified first. And guess what? Half the race is done, which brings us to the next part, why people say Monaco is boring now. So this is where criticism comes from. People say Monaco is less exciting because not much overtaking, strategy is predictable, drivers can't really fight wheel to wheel. For new fans, overtaking, passing other cars in the modern F1, which is already non-existent, is Monaco on steroids, unfortunately. So when a race has very little of that excitement, it can feel slow, boring, non-racy. Another issue. Teams sometimes control the pace on purpose. We've seen this in multiple races where the lead driver slows down, speeds up, slows down, speeds up. Drivers will go slower, manage tires, keep the gap tight. Why? Unfortunately, that's modern F1. They want to protect their track position. So instead of racing flat out, it sometimes turns into, don't mess this up. You've got the lead. Just control the distance, control the lead, control the 1 second gap. But on the other hand, why does Monaco still matter? Okay, but here's the other side. Because saying Monaco is boring completely misses something important. Monaco isn't about overtaking. It's about precision. It's about the driver being the driver. It's about making things happen when the car isn't there. It's what makes an F1 driver an F1 driver. If they can make it happen, that's the magic. And this is what makes Monaco so incredible. Qualifying laps are insane. Drivers are inches away from the wall. One mistake done, one pass, you're the greatest. You're on the podium. You're a winner. And as we discussed, qualifying is everything. And the drivers who can push their car to the absolute limit, that is pure F1 as we expect it to be. Like, if I hold my breath the wrong way, I can crash. Level of pressure. If the sun hits my eyes coming out of the tunnel and I miss the turn, it's over. And that's happened many times, and it will continue to happen. The tunnel is literally the tunnel of doom. Also, driver skills matter more than anywhere else. At most tracks, the car plays a huge role. At Monaco, the driver can make the difference. It could be the make it or break it. That is why you see drivers literally jump into a pool after they win, because the concept of winning at Monaco means so much. It is a prestigious win that other tracks cannot match. The Monaco race says you didn't just have the fastest car, you mastered the hardest track of the calendar, and you made it. You won it. You and your team won it, not the car, not the overpassing, not anything. It was you and your team making the right call, right strategies, and you as a driver making it happen. Is it less exciting or just different? So here's the real question. Is Monaco actually worse, or are we expecting the wrong kind of racing? Because if you go into Monaco expecting overtakes, big battles, constant action, yeah, you might be disappointed. But if you're watching for precision, tension, and just driver skill, and then suddenly is one of the most intense races of the year. Monaco isn't about the action. It's about the pressure. The pressure of the track, the pressure of the team, the pressure of your teammate, everything. Pressure at Monaco is the boiling point of winning or losing. So let's answer the question. Is Monaco boring? Honestly, yeah, it honestly is. In terms of racing, it is. But that is where FIA is taking us. Bigger cars, better fuel economy, engine/battery. That is what FIA is turning us into. So we as F1 fans have to actually enjoy where we're going. The bigger cars make it more difficult and change the way racing plays out, especially at Monaco. But if Monaco is still one of the most important races of the year to enjoy, to appreciate the prestige, to appreciate the history, to appreciate where F1 has come from and where F1 is going to. You can't appreciate the future without actually and utterly appreciating the past. Is Monaco still the most important race of the year? Absolutely. Because there is no other race that tests the drivers like this, that demands the level of precision or carries the level of history. Monaco isn't worse. It's just different. And if you understand what you're watching, you realize it is still one of the hardest and most intense weekends of Formula One. So, do you think Monaco needs to change? Should Formula One just adjust the track or the rules to improve racing? Or should just Monaco be exactly as it has been? Because this is one of the biggest debates that never really goes anywhere. And honestly, the part of what Monaco is it's Monaco. You have to accept it. If not, the past will disappear. So, here's the big takeaway. Monaco isn't about pure speed. It's about precision, patience, and survival. Because it's in Monaco, the smallest mistake makes the biggest difference. My final thoughts. I will describe the Monaco Formula One race using one of the greatest 1980 movies ever released, and they are Highway to the Danger Zone, and I feel the need for speed. I hope you enjoy the 2026 Monaco GP. And this is Mr. F1 saying that is the episode. We are watching Monaco this week. Focus on the qualifying, watch the mistakes, and pay attention to strategy. And let me know, do you love Monaco or do you think it's overrated? And until next time, enjoy F1 and wave that checker flag until the next race. And keep the engines running.
From lights out to the checkered flag, this has been Lights Out, Let's Chat podcast. We'll see you next time.